I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Call the meeting to order. As always, I like to introduce folks around the table. So I have Christine Keller, our town clerk, Stephanie Thibodeau, our counselor, actually vice chair, Michelle Flewellen, our town manager, Dwayne Bickford, counselor, Peter Lawrence, counselor and secretary, and myself, Matt Townsend, council chair. So the first order of business are the public announcements, and details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. Number 1, Fairfield is hiring in all departments. Contact the town office. Number 2, for the March 5th, 2024 presidential primary election, absentee ballots are available February 5th to February 29th. Online application requests are preferred, capturing efficiencies, also available in person and via phone. Accessible absentee ballots are available online. Absentee ballot returns via secure Dropbox for USPS plan up to 5 business days lead time. Polls are open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on March 5th at the Fairfield Community Center, 61 Water Street. Number 3, nomination papers for MSAD number 49 school board are available on March 4th, 2024 and are due April 12th, 2024 for the June 11th, 2024 election. Please contact the town clerk for details. Number 4, heavy loads are limited. Our roadway signage has been posted throughout the municipality. Please contact Public Works with any questions. Number 5, it's a long list, as always, the good stuff. Lawrence Public Library, children, Wednesdays, story time and crafts at 10:30. Fridays, Lego Club drop-in, 1 to 4. Saturdays, Lego Club drop-in from 10 to 1. Coffee and cribbage drop-in on Thursdays, 1 to 4. Read the classics every other month, discuss a classic. And special events, regular and seasonal programs can be found on the LPL social media page. The second order of business, public hearings. There are none. Third order of business, public comments. Limit of 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for the council to info@fairfieldme.com by 4 p.m. day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time. And I was going to ask my vice chair to just go over some issues there and just make sure things are smooth.
All right, so if you want to speak for public comments, again, you have your 3 minutes, but you can also reserve the right to speak on any item on the agenda. And to do so, you'll have to go up to the podium. Don't forget to do that, because nobody in TV land can hear you unless you're at the mic. And state your name and what you would like to talk about. And I guess that's it. And again, if you have something that's going to require more than 3 minutes, we do encourage you to contact the town manager or the chairman, and so we can put you on other council business. Thank you.
We have 3 items that will be read aloud at your first order, action item order, the order for the appeal.
Okay.
This is the opportunity
anybody want to break the
reserve
ice?
the right to speak or to speech.
Let's see, item 6 order of business, item 2431, I'd like to reserve time to speak on it if necessary.
Sure can. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Frank Bouchard, and I'm the treasurer for PAL. And I had spoken to Michelle. Is there any questions that you had regarding the PAL budget?
Right now?
Well, he's here to let you, he's letting you know that he's here to discuss that when you get to that item.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Workshop number 2, got it.
Yep.
Hi, Jeff Zimba, live on Skowhegan Road, and I'd like the opportunity to speak on item 2427 when it's time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christine Jones, and I'd like to reserve the right to speak on the permit for sound on Skowhegan Road.
Very good. Thank you.
Christine?
Christine Jones?
Yes.
Okay. And there's nobody else that would like to speak on any other item on the agenda? Ron?
Yep.
You want your 3 minutes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend, for getting back to me in reference to your response on my emails. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Just have some questions on that. Under the random drug one that you referred me to, it only specified that the Public Works is the only one that is in the random pool. How come the town isn't requiring all people that drive town equipment, town vehicles or whatever else to be drug tested?
So I am not a supervisor of employees, but I can turn that over to the town manager if she wishes to answer
It's
that.
just, it's
No,
a
honestly,
question,
I just-
I'm just asking, I mean, I know what
And
we put.
and I can't answer that because I'm not a supervisor of employees, so I can't tell you.
Okay, I just would like to know whether or not why we are doing just the Public Works. I understand because of the CDL, but we have other departments that drive heavy equipment in this town. We have other people that drive other vehicles in this town. Why aren't we drug testing them, is the question. Also, on the fire department issue, and nice to see Dwayne here tonight. You wrote me a thing here about the ISO for the, can you,
This being standardized. So yeah, basically talking about the Fairfield Center
fire station?
Fire Station. So if
Yes.
everybody's wondering what he's
It
talking about.
says here, in your comment, it is listed as an unmanned station for ISO purposes.
So it's kind of standardized reporting.
So if you look up ISO purposes, what is, I mean, can you enlighten me of how that come up, the ISO?
So it's standardized. Now, if you have any
May I,
questions.
through the
Yeah.
chair? That's the insurance rating organization.
That's what I wanted
So
to
that's why
hear.
we put it as unmanned, it's not counted. In fact, I think the
So-
last
If you
one I
stand-
just did, I don't believe it was put in as a station at all. I would have to go back through and look.
Okay, so the
And I
ISO is
understand
for
your
the
concern.
insurance.
And it should have been taken off, and it should be taken off as a fire department. I agree with you.
You do agree with me,
Right.
Dwayne? Thank you.
It was just
So
fell through the cracks.
I'm glad to see you here tonight, and what is your feelings towards the fire station out there, Dwayne, as being back in service and everything? Sorry, Chairman. Is it okay?
So at some point, so you can answer if you wish to. Also,
I
we're
always
getting
look
on our,
at-
how many, I don't know how many other questions you want to have answered. So if you have those, we can present those.
The only other one that I had was, I was gonna ask another one there, but I'll get rid of that one. Has the stove in the kitchen been fixed in the community center yet?
No.
It has not been. When was, can you look into that, when that was brought up to have the stove fixed in the community center kitchen?
We'll talk later about this.
Okay. And the only other one was, you said something about our audit when you got back to me. You
Sure.
said that we do an audit every year
So, yep, you can ask the town manager.
we do it yearly. So it is done yearly. We have an independent auditor come in and do with the
I'll have the
complete
town
audit.
manager answer because she's,
Yes, we do. And it's posted on our website.
It is?
Yeah, for
Okay.
like 7, 8 years back is on our
Okay,
website.
so everything's right there on the website?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Oh, there was one more also, sorry. Sorry, there was one more too. Chairman, I did not get that yes or no from that January 30th request from the previous email I sent.
So,
So if you could look into that, please?
no.
That went out
actually-
this afternoon, and it's a no.
It is a no.
It is a no. Yep, you got that. It was emailed to you earlier this afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ice broken. Anybody else want to speak? I guess not. All right. Thank you very much. It's always good to have conversations. So the fourth order of business, reports from the staff and committees. So number one is the town manager report.
Good evening. Let me get that for you. So one thing I wanted to mention that was not in our public announcements is that the town office front counter will be closed on March 6th, the day of the election day. Staff will be down here working at the polls, and that wasn't on our public announcement list. And then also, so February 15th, I did attend Maine Municipal Association's Legislative Policy Committee. They had a brief Zoom meeting where they went over various aspects of the state supplemental budget.
I just want to say March 5th.
March 5th, sorry. Yeah, that's what I have written down.
You said March
I know,
6th.
anyway, that's what I meant. And then also, on the 15th, I attended the KRGA Executive Board meeting where we reviewed the budget for next year. The following Thursday, on the 22nd, was the General Assembly meeting that we had in Oakland to set the time and the budget, which their annual budget meeting will be done on March 21st. It will be held at Waterville City Council's new meeting chambers on Front Street. That is the meeting that is open to all of the public and all the voting public and all of the member municipalities. And then also for projects, the fire chief and I did meet with Municipal Resources, Inc. just this morning to finalize all the bits and pieces for the fire audit. We are hoping to have that, they are hoping to have that completely finalized by the 1st of next week, which then will be starting to coordinate the meeting between the town council, the town of Benton, and Municipal Resources, Inc. here in this building. We are currently looking towards the end of March, possibly the first week of April, as long as we can get everybody all on the same page. So be looking for an email for that, because I got an idea getting all of you in the room at the same time is going to be a little difficult, but we're going to start working on that very quickly. But the plan is to make sure you have the report far enough in advance that as elected officials, you can review it, come up with your questions, and then be able to have that conversation with them. Our intent is to make sure that that is a meeting that is open to the public, but it is a meeting for the council and selectmen and just the organization. So, and that's it for me.
Very good. Do you want to talk about economic development?
Sure. Normally, we would meet on the first Tuesday of the month, but because of the primary, we will be meeting on March 12th at 3:30 in this room. And the main purpose or focus of our discussion this month, next month, will be deciding on our goals for the year. So that's it.
Very good. Thank you. Peter, do you want to talk about it?
Yes.
Michelle mentioned a little bit the...
Yes, Building Committee. We're going to hold another meeting March 6th at 6 p.m. to finalize the final report, because there's a few questions about the report each member wants to talk about. So that's it.
Very good. Thank you. The PFAS committee is waiting for the Department of Agriculture to try to confirm with them, try to get a date.
So
Maybe
they have
one.
agreed this week that they are interested in coming. So I'm hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have some tentative dates that they'll be able to
Great.
make it and just exactly who will be here.
Thank you. So the fifth order of business is the consent agenda. These items are considered routine and standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council members so request prior to the consideration of this portion of the agenda, which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 2425, order that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2024-03 held on February 14th, 2024. Item 24-26, order the Town Council hereby approves Treasurer's Warrant number 102, General Fund in the amount of $305,978.77, not limited to, but including Maine Bond Bank and the Maine Employee Health Insurance, as well as KWD.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Passes. Sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 2427, order the town council hereby considers a request of appeal from either Ethan Pussonier, owner of the AMP Lab LLC, doing business as Exclusive Audio, for special sound permit application denied by the Fairfield Police Department in accordance with Public Safety Ordinance Article 6, noise. Chief Gould.
Good evening. I submitted a packet to you that explained the reasoning behind my denial of this permit. It has nothing to do with the business. They have been in town for quite some time and they're very well respected. I issued permits in 2000 and 2021, 2020 and 2021, and we had very little issues, if any, at that time. We did have several complaints on May 7th of this year, 2022, one of which was extremely loud music at a residence that's located 3,500 feet away. We believe, and this is just our thoughts, the recent wood cutting up there has changed the dynamics of how the sound flows, and it's able to reach further out than it did years before. I do have an officer that here right now that was on duty the day that occurred. He did contact me at home, and because of concerns from the public that I spoke to after when I returned Monday, this happened, I believe, on the weekend, right? Yeah. I denied the permit this year and decided to bring it forward to you. He has appealed the denial, and I'll bring it forward to you. He's here, and I'm sure he'll come up and explain how his business operates. And I believe we did receive some emails both in support of and requesting that you sustain the denial. Excuse me. I did talk to several people in the area. An elderly couple did say that it was annoying to them. They hoped that it was denied. And another couple across the, actually the person across the street that spoke in favor is here tonight, and I'll let him speak. So do you want to come up? And do you want me to go first? Yep.
Want the rest comments? No, I would let the property owner go first. Well, comments be at the end.
Hello. Hello. So I'm the owner of the AMP Lab. We do business as Exclusive Audio.
Your name for the record?
Oh, Ethan.
Your name for the record.
Ethan Poissonnier.
Thank you.
And yeah, so I own Exclusive Audio on 201. We purchased the business, or we started there in 2018, end of 2018. It's a car electronics business, so we do everything from remote starters, light bars, stereos on motorcycles. We do stereos in cars, all stuff like that. Part of our business is online, so we ship all over the country as well. We deal with everything from basic speakers in vehicles or boats or whatever, all the way up to really extreme sound systems. There's a community that consists of people that like to put sound systems in their cars, whether it's just to make them sound as good as possible, or some people want to make them really loud, things like that, but there's a whole community for it. Part of the reasoning for us getting our business where we got it is because we're in the middle of a field, like a huge field. We're in the middle of it, and we have a neighbor that's right next to us, like touching our property, which they've never had a problem. They come over and enjoy the events and stuff. And then no other super close neighbors. That was part of the reason we got that property, is because hosting car stereo shows is a big part of our business. It brings people in from all over New England. We really get people from Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, every show that we've hosted. And so it brings business for us and for the community. What the shows usually consist of is there's a competition portion of it, and then there's also just people socializing and showing off their vehicles to other people and playing the sound systems in them. So the competition portion is people try to see how loud their vehicles are, and some people have some pretty loud vehicles there. I believe the police chief said 2020. I thought we did some in 2019. I thought we did some in 2019, 2020, 2021, and then I think our first one in 2022 is the one that the complaints came in. So I don't know if it is because of the cutting, because we've hosted the same events through those years, but yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. People playing loud music and socializing and showing off their vehicles. We get food trucks there and try to get the community together.
Hours?
So every competition we've done has been on the weekend. I believe every competition has been on a Saturday, and I know every competition has been from the hours of 11 to 4. Sometimes we've let people go until about 5, but after that, it's done. I'm not staying there longer than that. I'm done with it by then as well. So it's always midday. It's always on the weekend.
Are you measuring the decibels at all?
Yes, but not from people's houses. Obviously, the sound goes down the farther you get away, and the people right next to us don't mind at all. They're not they're not a person that has complained.
So just out of curiosity, are the car stereos, the decibels going up over time? Are they increasing?
Like throughout the length of the event?
Well, just over the past few years, have you noticed a change in the decibels?
I would say in general, no. That event might have had some really big builds from out of state that came up. And it also could have been because we changed, part of it was probably because we changed the positioning of some of the vehicles, because we have a pretty big parking lot, but we literally have hundreds of people show up. So we had to move more people into our field. So that could have played into it. I don't think it's because over the years that the vehicles have gotten significantly louder, though. I don't believe that's the case.
In light of the complaints that were received last year, would you consider changing the parking situation so that...
Absolutely. If that was something that it took, I would confer with the chief and see if he had ideas on the best way to set it up to try to... You know, I don't want to disturb anyone. I'd be happy to send letters out ahead of time. We just want to be able to host this event for our community and for our business. So if moving vehicles to, you know, around the parking lot in a different way helps. If we wanted to move more so they face the river, we could try doing that as well. Because in front of us is the river, obviously, and not anyone's right up in front of us.
All right. Thank you.
Other questions? Thanks for the presentation. We might call you back if we need to clarify something.
Sure, sounds good.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Ethan.
Hello again. Nice to see everybody. My name's Jeff Zember, and I live on the Skowhegan Road, almost across the street from the Amp Labs establishment. It's a nice event that they put on. It doesn't make anywhere near as much noise as the countless trucks running Jake brakes going by my house every single day that shake my house. Their noise signature is it really is far less than that. It's something that if I wanted to be bothered by it, I probably could turn off my television and sit by the window and maybe hear some droning of the bass every now and then and say, yes, I can hear that. But when my television's on, or when I'm on my tractor, or when I'm doing my chores, I don't hear it at all. Just a faint vibration every now and then of the bass, and it's not very often. And again, if the television's on, even I don't hear it. I more hear vehicles driving by with loud stereos than I do their event. They're really nice folks. A lot of what they do for charities. I'm not sure what charity, so I'll let them speak on that. So it's not a malicious group of people by any stretch of the imagination. I've been to the event, not participating. It's way out of my league financially, and I'm too old for that. But it's a lot of fun, and everybody's smiling, and they sell merch there, and it seems like a nice event. And I was disappointed when I heard last year that it wasn't happening anymore. So I was delighted to see that you were going to be taking it up tonight. And I don't think many places are closer than I am. It's within sight, maybe 1/8 of a mile away. Good.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Can I speak?
Yes, by all means.
Hi, I'm Christine Jones. I live at 32 Faithway in Fairfield, which is the road, a dead-end road, not far from their establishment. And I want to address the fact that I complained 2 different years. You know, my windows vibrated, and I live like the field where it had been cut, so the sound carries during that time. That maybe it's 11 o'clock, but it's a constant vibration. It upsets my animals. I feel uneasy. I have a headache, and I don't know about this other guy that spoke, but the vibration is so bad that most everybody on the dead-end road has complained about it, at least to me. I don't know if they have to the police officers, but certainly I have. And there's, well, I want to say, research that discourages bass sounds for long periods of time, which can cause anxiety, frustration, depression, and I found a lot of that to be evident in the people in my area. So I believe that Chief Gould's denial of the permit is justified. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Well, I'm looking at the kind of the report here. There is a map on the back, and there's the footage of the distance of 2,000 feet and 3,551 feet. And it looks like the 2,000 is the, well, what's the, do you happen to know?
Yes, it's 3,500 feet
Okay.
to the house of the complainant.
Gotcha,
And
okay.
Officer Dugas can testify to how loud the music was at that residence if you wish him to.
Yes, yep, you should.
There were also several emails. I don't know if those will be read to council.
Yeah, we want to make sure. I think with Officer Dugas, that'd be good.
Okay.
Casey Dugas, I'm a patrolman of the Fairfield Police Department. I happened to be working last year when the event took place. I've worked at least one other one that I can recall. Last year was the only year that comes to mind as having complaints. I believe I had 4 that day. The map that Chief Gould supplied to you was one of the complaints that I took. I met with the homeowner there at the end of their driveway. It's a little over half a mile away from the event, I guess. And from there, it was definitely loud. Personal preference, it didn't bother me, but obviously the homeowner was concerned. She said it had been going on for the majority of the morning, or late morning into the afternoon. Definitely a lot of bass there that I could hear in the cruiser before I ever got out. Again, not being that particular person, I'm sure I bothered her. She obviously was bothered. She called. The bass was considerable, and like Chief Gould mentioned, the only thing I can think of is those trees that have been cleared off.
The sound buffer's gone.
Buffering the sound, or not being able to buffer the sound as much.
Gotcha. Questions, thoughts? Thank you very much, I appreciate it. So we have a couple, go ahead, Chief.
Yep. So the resident that lives at that address, the 3,500 feet away, I did contact that resident, and she chose not to reply because she has moved, and her family now lives in it. I believe it's her husband's parents that own that home. And as far as the mention of the next door neighbor, the house right directly beside his business, they've never had an issue with the competition. They've never complained to us. And in fact, when I first issued the very first permit, I believe I spoke to them to make sure they were okay with it, because I did have some concerns at the time. That's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have those emails to read?
We received an email from Steve and Wendy Wozniak, Chief Gould. As their neighbor with our residents located 0.2 of a mile from the location, we do not have any issues with this business holding this competition or the music or noise present during it. We are in favor of their appeal and having your decision reversed in support of our local businesses. I apologize for the short response time, but we were only notified today, and this was yesterday. Cordially, Stephen and Wendy Wozniak, 385 Skowhegan Road. And then this morning we received, to whom it may concern, this email is in response to the sound permit for Skowhegan Road 419. We live within less than 350 yards from the business and have been exposed to their sound competitions in the past. The sound competitions cause such disturbance to our daily lives that has had us seek the help of Fairfield Police Department twice. In our 14 years here at our house, those were the only 2 times we needed to seek the services of Fairfield Police Department. I ask you to please uphold the denial of the permit for the following reasons. It is a great and extended disruption to our daily life. The sound and vibration shakes our whole house. It is so strong that it causes the plates and glasses in our cupboards to vibrate. These events also terrify our pets. They are nervous, physically distressed, and run all over the house, trying to escape the noise and vibration. However, the bass reverberates through the entire house, and the animals cannot find any escape from it. Also, my wife, daughter, and I, after being exposed to the constant vibration for hours, leads us to feeling unwell. During the past sound competitions, there was no reprieve to be had, neither indoors nor outdoors. The thumping music continued for hours. Eventually, the exposure to frequency of the vibrations caused bodily distress. In addition, I also work rotating shift work, which requires me to be able to sleep during the day in order to rest and be safe at my work. It's impossible to rest while the house is shaking. We are a family that supports local business and competitions, but seeing who can blast their car stereo the loudest adds, in my opinion, nothing good or beneficial to society. I feel that the health and sanity of us and our pets are paramount to the amount of decibels a car speaker can put out. I'm not sure if that was correct wording. We ask you to continue to stand firm and uphold the denial. Sincerely, Philip Gittesberger, 36 Faiths Way. The last email was also received today. Dear council members, my husband, Scott Weeks, and I, Robin Weeks, have been notified that a sound permit for a vehicle stereo competition has been requested from 419 Skowhegan Road in Fairfield. We live in this area, 365 Skowhegan Road, and are opposed to this type of activity due to the disturbance it will create for our elderly parents who live next door, 11 Faiths Way, and our domesticated animals. This type of sound activity creates agitation for all nearby residents and disrupts our peaceful rural residential activities. Thank you for denying the applicant's request for a sound permit for vehicle stereo competition. Sincerely, Robin Weeks, and also her husband, Scott Weeks. She was writing on behalf. That is it. Those will be attached to the minutes.
Very good. So discussion. So we haven't had to do this before, so.
Yeah. I'd like to ask Ethan some questions, please. Yeah. Earlier, you alluded to the fact that there were some out-of-state vehicles that had come up that had extremely loud radios.
Mm-hmm.
And you had never had any complaints up until last year. Do you think it was because of those cars?
We've had really loud vehicles there before. I think it's possible that that might have added a little bit. I don't think it was the main component, because it's not like it's always been like relatively small and then they came up and brought the big stuff. We've always had some pretty loud cars there. I used to have a really loud one myself there, so I don't think it was them in that circumstance.
Okay. And the event goes from 11 to 4. So for 5 hours, there's this constant music being played?
It's usually not that loud right at the beginning. Probably around 12:30, everyone's pretty much going, and then for a couple hours, and then most of it's usually done by 4. So I would say probably like 4 hours of music.
So it's kind of like a free-for-all, everybody just turns up their radios and has a go at it?
Yeah, I mean, people can only go, their cars can only play for a certain amount of time, so maybe a couple people will be playing theirs, shuts down, another couple people will be playing theirs, shuts
Okay,
down.
so
So it's
that's
not
how-
like 200 people all blasting at the same time.
Okay, that's what I was picturing.
Yeah, no, it's not like that.
Okay.
It is loud, but it's not like 200 cars all blasting at once.
Wow.
And I may not have found it, I was trying to search for it, but we don't have a decibel level in our noise.
Yes, we do.
So it's asking,
There's
you
no,
set a decibel level at your competition, saying you can't go over certain limits.
It would be, so the problem would be you would have to figure out what equipment you're going to use to measure and then what distance you're going to use to measure. I mean, if we were given a standard, we could try it, but the way decibels are measured are in the vehicle. The decibels in the vehicle are vastly different from 10 feet outside the vehicle and then 100 feet. So it would not be relevant to take the measurements inside the vehicle and, you know, try to extrapolate out to 1,000 feet or something. You'd have to actually measure.
What would you actually have to measure, inside the vehicle or outside the vehicle?
Outside, from the distance you cared about.
Outside the vehicle.
I just haven't found it. If you can point it out to me, I'm
Well, I'm
happy.
still looking too,
Yeah.
but I thought, we'll ask the chief.
On B, is on section 6B, is a radio.
There is a paragraph in the public safety ordinance.
Subjects, subsection 7B,
70.
3.
I knew I read it.
Gives distance.
Under section 3, it says, "The noise generated shall not be audible above background sounds at a
Yeah.
distance of
That's why I
100
said
yards."
to down 3.
Right, so
A
background.
distance of 100 yards or more from the noise source, nor shall the noise be unreasonable loud within the sound area. Got that one? That's down C3.
And I did issue it initially because, as we've stated, there's not very many residences that close to the property line. And we, you know, after the first year, we had, like I said, we had no complaints. So the second year, apparently, we may have had a complaint. I couldn't find that in the system. But in 2022, this is the reason why we're here.
So it doesn't specify the decibels?
It does not
It
specify
does not.
decibels.
Stand corrected.
And I might add, this was written in the early 1990s,
This is
maybe
100 yards.
before that.
Right.
That the person is 3,551 feet. That's what cranking is there. So,
Decibel piece was debated some years ago when looking at this ordinance, and we had no mechanism in which to measure it, so it was not ever included. But that's the whole point, right? So the permit allows for the sound to go further, maybe similar to like if we had a concert.
Yeah.
So I guess,
It does specify in here that the chief of police, or his or her designee, must consider the character of the neighborhood in which the applicant's premises is located in deciding whether to grant or deny a permit. And I'm all for business, and I'm all for the events.
Isn't that zone commercial?
It is.
It is.
I know it's no comparison, but in the summertime, I listen to Belangers all day. Their loudspeaker calling, and the football games. I know who's winning the football games from my house, and I live 2 streets down from the Catholic church.
Yeah, it's the same as, we went to Unity Raceway and people complain about that, but are you not going to have raceways anymore? And that's every Friday night till 11 at night. I'm asking for 2 or 3 times a year in the middle of the day.
Is there any way you can control the amount of cars that are operating at any given time? And you've already said you could change the direction, maybe face the river, which it might work. But it's the base that really gets to people.
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to try like what we can try. We could try, facing them a different way, and if people say that's not working, we can try. Only so many vehicles can go at once. I'm willing to try different things if we can bring these events back to our business, because we do a charity event every year as well, where we're able to donate to the Waterville Humane Society a pretty decent amount. We get a pretty decent amount of money. And we just want to be able to continue doing a couple of these events a year.
It'd be a compromise.
So I think the chief has done his job definitely on that end. I think he has to look out for the overall, has to enforce the rules. And I think he's done that. And I think we also have to think about, all of the folks in the community and how it affects them. And so I think that's important. And being a veterinarian, I hear the stories about the pets, and that's definitely true. It was just like basically a situation of a thunderstorm. But at the same time, I look at, okay, so is there a way that we can compromise? And that you can change some things, and if we can avoid having complaints, then I'm for that, if that's possible. I'm just not sure if that's actually...
Yeah. I'd like to ask Mrs. Jones a question, please. Can you come up to the mic, please? You've only filed a complaint once, correct? Twice. And...
Two different years.
2 different years. If Ethan would go and try to work the situation so that the cars are not facing Faith's Way, would that be okay with you?
I'm not sure that, because then we don't know what how loud the sound's going to be. I can't explain to you. I wish I could all invite you when they do have a concert, competition, how it sounds in my yard. And I know it's because they cut the wooded area, because now I can hear the trucks go by.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to compromise if I can barely hear it, but when I say to you that it was like thump, 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 and there's no way to me to get away from it, whether inside or outside, putting on the TV doesn't help. And I think because it's the field, it carries much greater.
Yeah.
And whereas if the trucks are going by, you really don't hear some of the sound. That's what I believe. And I'm willing to try, but let me tell you that I'll invite you if the sound's above normal and it's vibrating in my house, and I can't get away from it, and neither can my pets.
Yeah.
And I gladly invite, the owner to come and check it out.
Right, thank you.
So what I hear is actually compromise, which I love to hear.
I'm not against one, I'm not against their business, and I'm not against their competition. I just don't want to hear it in my house or in my yard.
100%. And I just love to hear the fact that you're open to talking,
That's
which is
right.
not always the case, right? So I think that's great to hear.
I mean, if they can, if you agree to their permit, and they can come to my house, should I find that it's disagreeable with me, the sound level, is if they'll come, because I have called before I entered to call the police chief. I tried to call them, and I don't know, either their line was busy or they didn't hear it, I'm not sure. And so I gladly have them come and see what they think about it, So compromise is fine, as long as I don't want to take away their competition. I just don't want to hear it.
Right, and I understand that. All right, thank you, Mrs. Jones.
It'd be tough
Ethan, I have another question for you. How many vehicles do you usually get in your competitions, on average?
Yeah, I would say 75 to 100.
Oh, because I was thinking about putting tents up, without the walls, but just over the top.
Yeah.
And that can muffle the sound and work as a barrier. I don't know if that would be something that would be an okay thing to do. People can buy, those canopies.
I think being directional will have a lot more effect than the tents will. I don't know that the tents will do a whole lot, but I do think if I made everyone park so their doors and everything are facing towards the river, I think it would have a pretty big effect. Because the way it works, a lot of people play their systems with their doors open, and your doors go like this, so the sound is going to be reflected back away from the vehicle. So if the vehicles are backed up towards the residences that are complaining, the sound's going to resonate back there.
Right.
If we face them, face the doors towards the river, I think maybe that could have a much bigger effect than a tents or anything like that.
I can hear that happening,
yeah.
I could see for this year a conditional permit based on that.
Yeah.
And again, Mrs. Jones, let's try it and just see how it affects the neighborhood.
I can agree, I can agree to that as long as if I find it at a discount, that they can come, I can call them and they can come and be at my home and see what they think about it.
Yeah, and then if that does happen, is there a way that you can ask people to turn it down?
Yeah, I've been to events before, because these happen all over the country and they happen in all different situations. And for example, I went to one where unfortunately there was a funeral happening, but they found out ahead of time. So let's say that the event was like mine and it was from 11 to 4. The funeral, they were just having the procession from 1 to 2. So they just said everyone, nobody can play anything from 1 to 2. So yeah, if I need to, I can get the word out pretty easily to everyone, hey, you need to turn it down or you need to turn it off.
Okay. I think this would be, for this year, a compromise in both ways. But I would like to have a report about how it goes after the event, so.
Yeah.
But that's how I'm feeling, because there's good that can happen out of both sides, so.
So do we have a motion?
Is there anybody else that wants to
Yeah.
make a comment?
No, I agree with the compromise.
Michelle?
I actually just had one question, which might be helpful. How early and how do you advertise this event?
Yeah, that's always advertised at least a month early, like at minimum. Sometimes I plan them 2 or 3 months in advance. It's all on Facebook. Basically, our whole business is done through Facebook. I have done flyers before, but that was only at the beginning. I realized it wasn't as helpful just going through Facebook.
It might not be as helpful to attract people to your event, but
No.
it might be helpful to notify the people in the region of the event, because where you're saying it's from 11 to 4, it's a possibility if it's in the somebody could just choose not to be home during that time frame.
I didn't want to say that, but you could just
no,
leave.
well, but if they didn't know about it in advance, they wouldn't know, right? So if I had planned to be at home all day on a Saturday and all of a sudden all I'm getting is bass playing all afternoon, right? So I'm just
That was
asking
my
that
first
question how that
thought,
works.
was like,
It's all about that
was
bass.
like, I will notify people, and the people that have a complaint with it, I would offer money, like you go to the beach or something, like.
Put that in the minutes, please. Just my
You have to
question.
use the mic, Mrs. Jones.
I have to disagree with the town manager. Why should I be driven out of my home?
You should, but it should be good.
And-
I think she means that, I'll speak for her, sorry, but I think she wants to just make sure that you know well in advance.
Oh,
so if
when I
you
drive
wanted to
by, I've seen it on their sign, so,
Good.
but it's not convenient for me to leave, so.
And you're probably not the only one.
You know, other people, like there was, I think the Irishes, their father had renal cancer, and so he was very sick, and that was like
Couldn't leave.
a couple years ago, and he was very agitated, and it's like he couldn't rest, he couldn't do, they didn't know what to do with him, and he couldn't leave, he was bedridden.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I just happen to disagree.
It wasn't my intent to say that you should have to leave your home so that they could have an event. That was not my point or my intention at all. No one should be driven from their home because of something happened next to them. It was just merely the fact that it is a possibility for folks, and if you don't
And what
know
are you
about
gonna do
those
about the
things-
dogs, or the
So-
cats, or the
Right.
whatever?
Yeah, absolutely.
They can't leave. It's, you know, like a fight or flight type of thing. So,
Yep, totally. Thank you for, yeah. I think it's, so, any more discussion? Motion?
I'll make a motion that, I've got to get it right.
That
We provide, extend.
so we deal with the appeal.
That we appeal.
Approve the appeal.
Approve the appeal?
Approve the appeal with the condition that the cars will be situated so that the doors open towards the river, and that the organizers make themselves available to the nearby residents so that they can see how the noise is affecting their living conditions on the day of the event. And that we also receive a report about the outcome of this event with the noise.
I second that.
Any more discussion?
Who is responsible for the report? You want a report from me or from the chief if he gets complaints, or?
Yes.
It could be both of you.
Okay.
Could be both.
Okay.
That's a good clarifying question.
But it will at minimum be from the police chief?
At least.
Thank you.
All right.
And
I
that was
think only,
seconded.
yep, and in the discussion, I'll reiterate real quick, like, that I do really appreciate the compromise and the openness to talk. And actually, the fact that the two people are sitting next to each other in the back row, which in this day
I
and
don't
age.
have any grievances.
Right. But I think it's a thing that we should point out occasionally, so I appreciate that. So all those in favor? Passes. Nice discussion, thank you. Item 24-28, order the town council hereby considers and awards bids for the 2025 Wheeler Loader up to the amount of $143,524 to be expended from the Public Works Equipment Reserve account.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, discussion. Bruce, would you like to talk about that or make your case?
Sure.
That'd be great, thank you.
What would you like to know? It should say wheel loader, not wheeler loader. Just pointing out the
Edit?
All right, this money's coming out of your capital reserve account,
equipment reserve account.
equipment reserve account. Looking ahead to 2025, what do you see being needed for equipment?
And a new wheeler dump truck,
Which will cost how much,
$280,000.
roughly? So you currently have $388,033.79 in your account.
Correct.
And of that amount, how much is this, the wheeler?
143, the wheel loader, yep.
How much is it?
143,524.
143,524. And next year, it's 200 and what thousand?
80.
280,000 for a new dump truck. And I'm asking this because it all has to do with the budget. So in the next 2 years, we're looking to expend $423,524 just in the Public Works Equipment Reserve account, which is less than what we currently have. All right, thank you.
What was the total again? Mine?
423,524.
Any questions for Bruce?
And it's a brand new one.
Brand new?
Brand new. All right.
How old's the old one? Like 20 years old?
The old one is a 2011, so it's like
What do you do with
13.
the old one?
It's a trade-in. The dollar amounts are on that memo. They
yeah,
actually
that's
allowed us
right.
$42,000 for that loader as a trade-in.
Yeah. I will say that I was quite impressed with the yes/no on this. Is this what you use when you go to look for a vehicle to make sure it has all the necessary parts?
That's correct. Makes it simple when you're reviewing bids
Yeah.
with other.
That was quite impressive.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think, thank you, Bruce. So, a motion?
You have it. Motion. You have a motion and a second.
Sorry, my apologies, my apologies. So now we can actually any more discussion.
You just gotta accept the bid on that company.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
So you got a motion by Lawrence,
Bill
seconded by
Friendly
Thibodeau. Do you want a friendly amendment?
Yep. Yeah. You have to put in the name of the company.
Okay. I make an amendment. We accept the bid for $1,043,524 from United Construction and Forestry Bid Company for the loader.
Good.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Item 24-29, order the town council in accordance with MRSA 29-A, 2382, 2388, 2395, hereby signs agreement with the Maine Department of Transportation to authorize the town manager, one, to issue a municipal overlimit permit, and two, to facilitate any applicable municipal construction surety bond for construction of the MDOT project number 2643200.
So moved.
Second.
And can you talk to that, Michelle?
Sure. So this is oftentimes standard practice for Maine Department of Transportation when they have a construction project that is affecting a major roadway within their community, within a community, in which they suspect that there's a possibility that they may have to travel, their contractor may have to travel over posted municipal roads. We don't anticipate a start time on this project actually to come anywhere near when posted roads will still be posted. But what this does is it allows myself and actually the road commissioner to work with the contractor of that project to give them the permission. So what we're doing is we're assuring that we will allow them to travel across those posted roads. However, we can make them post a surety bond, which is insurance, that if they damage those roads, they have to fix them. And this is standard practice with DOT with their contracts most of the time. Anyway, we didn't have one on the Center Road project, which was surprising. We talked about that today. But these are fairly common, so. And it's basically just letting them know that the municipality is not going to stand in the way of the progress of DOT's project on Main Street.
Right. And could you tell our audience again the length of that project, please?
It's only supposed to be this summer to this fall, right? The Main Street project?
Length of
Time or length of distance?
Oh, distance. Where it starts and where it ends.
Length of distance is Main Street from the town line, obviously, here in Waterville next to Hutamaki, all the way past the DOT garage that's up on 201. So the full length.
And it will also include the small strip they did do last year on Weston Ave from Maine to the railroad tracks.
Yep. And that's going to be taking the portions of Main Street that are 4 lanes and bringing that down to 3. So it'll have that center turning lane and then the 2 travel lanes on the further out portion of town and going up this way.
Okay.
It also includes the 3 bridges as well.
So that's, you don't have an estimated start
July.
to
Fall.
End of fall. when they stop paving. It also includes a considerable amount of manhole work and, all of those systems that are within the road have to be raised and lowered and all of that stuff. So, and sidewalk changes, handicap accessibility. So if you notice on the Savage Street project, the Weston Savage Street project, we have the transitional pieces on the sidewalks for the visually impaired. Those will be added throughout the course of the project, crosswalk changes, that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. So we have a motion and a second and discussion. Any more? All right, all those in favor? Item 24-30, order that the town council hereby signs quitclaim deeds for Paul Sweet for property located at 174 Gagnon Road, map 005, lot 019-01B. You guys want me to slow down if you're writing this down, I can do that, but otherwise, we're gonna keep moving. Victoria Babelar for property located at 206 Martin Stream Road, map 010, lot 028-00A. Catherine Grant for property located at 59 Kennebec Street, map 028, lot 024. Carla Stratton for property located at 272 Green Road, map 008, lot 036-00A. David Ryder for property located at 27 Crane Drive, map 021, lot 001045. Nancy L. Gagnon for property located at 36 Military Ave, map 023, lot 141. Joseph Lefevre, I wish I missed that one, but for property located at 61 Kennebec Street, map 028, lot 022. George Hofgren for property located at 74 Nye Corner Road Drive, map 007, lot 026. And Basil J. Stratton for property located at 258 Green Road, map 008, lot 034-00A.
So move.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Item 24-31, order the town council hereby forms and advertises ad hoc 31 Lawrence Ave Committee in accordance with and subject to Fairfield Town Charter and Administrative Policy, state statute and regulations. So
move.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Discussion. So I have thoughts on that. So we have a basic committee form that we tried, and my initial proposal was the committee to explore the future of the Good House, and we have to have 2 council members on this committee. The appointment applicant qualifications should be a citizen of Fairfield. Ideally, applicants would have engineering, construction, historical preservation, and planning design background. Committee mission, but that's not limited to that. Committee mission to present options and costs of those options, as well as pros and cons of each option for the town of Fairfield, present and future. Committee report due to the council in 3 to 6 months. Number of committee members are 5. So, and then we have the committee schedule and committee records and all that kind of good stuff. Thoughts, changes, clarifications?
I think it should be a shorter timeframe.
I think, yeah.
3 months max would be good. If otherwise, we're just adding for more.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I mean, what are our choices? You've got to take sell it, raise it.
Right. So, which begs the question, and maybe we want to, do we want to form the committee still? Do we want to put it out on the market and see what we have? So there's in that discussion. I think we probably want to think about the committee, and there might be some of the other ideas, but I think it should be at least thrown out there. If we think that this is going to end up as being a go-to-market, then do we go to market now and put that request for a proposal for a realtor and start that process?
Could somebody come in and say, I'd like to purchase this house for X amount of dollars to the town manager, and then it would be over? We'll never reap what we've lost. That's the given. But if we could get...
You would have to authorize me to be able to negotiate that on your behalf, because only you have the authority to sell town property.
Right. But I'm thinking maybe there's somebody that wants to...
So, I'll play devil's advocate. So we sell to the first person who comes through, and we haven't even advertised it.
and there's somebody else finds out about it, it's from Southern Maine, and they come up and they want to pay twice what the other person.
Well, we could do it like the bid process. Put it out for bid, and with a minimum of, what, it was, what, 175,000 that?
135 was the low.
130, okay, with a minimum of, and then it would be over.
Do
I
we
mean,
do we have to have another town meeting? It's already considered already what's to do with the property, but
You don't need another town meeting.
no?
no.
You already have the authority to sell the property. The town council was granted the authority at town meeting to purchase the lot for use by the library and to sell any remaining portion that the lot you did not need for the library's purposes. Okay? That's the authority you have,
You had the option of selling it or keeping it.
right? You don't have to sell any of it. You can keep it all.
Right.
And
So-
if you're gonna do the discussion now, then you're doing the job of the committee. You've already decided that you're gonna sell it.
Right.
Right, which is why I still think the committee is a good idea.
Well, I don't know. I'm just throwing that
Yeah,
out.
and that's why I
but
threw
we've
it out
got
there too,
people-
because I think there's value, and I don't want to, but I think we did look at the timeframe. I think it does need to be short, so we get to a resolution. So that'd be my only thought. So, Alyssa, would you like to speak?
If anybody has any questions, obviously I am for an addition on the library. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm tired of looking at the house. I know that we could have an addition. There have been plans. It would benefit the community for many years to come, so if anybody has any questions, I'm here.
I do, to the chairman. Have you put any thought into having the whole lot and keeping that front lot as library property for events or
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
library park or,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
There's
I see you do the
so many things that
coffee and
could be done.
cribbage.
Yeah. If we had more space, we could do lots more programs. There's so many things that could be done if we had more space.
And I think there's the blueprints, we have an interesting, back in the day, of looking at the expansion and/or using it as a library annex, which was kind of an interesting idea, but.
For the record, so Alyssa Patterson is your library director. She's the department head, so just like when the police chief speaks on the appeal and public works director speaks on the Wheeler, she is your municipal department head, for the record, for the public.
Alyssa, you wouldn't happen to know a ballpark figure of how much it would cost to actually put up an annex for the library?
I
Because
don't.
this house is not in good condition.
No, I don't know. I know the plans were up there 20 years ago when they were made. So
Right,
I
it was
would
in the
assume-
millions, if I remember
It was,
correctly.
and with inflation and everything, I'm sure that would go up quite a bit.
Yeah.
I have looked into, another big reason why it would be really good to have an addition is so that we can have an elevator, so that we can be completely ADA accessible, which we are not. I have looked into getting a ramp, and that wouldn't really work out very well. We can't do really anything with the front of the library because it's on the historical registry, so it would have to be in the back, and so an addition really is the only way to go.
Okay.
And I think that's the value of a committee, right? So we can look at all options, and so I think obviously our knee-jerk reaction is to sell it and recoup, and hopefully somebody develops a very nice place there, and we're all happy. But at the same time, you're also looking at it in 100 years from now, shoulda, woulda, coulda. So you have to, long after I'm dead and buried, there'll be like a chance that, hey, we should have done this. So there's always, you have to think about the next generations, so.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah, I think a 90-day time limit for a committee would be awesome. By the way, I'm Paul Nichols, for the record. There are a lot of other issues that have, People have asked to go inside and take a look to see what kind of damage it was, and it's been reported that they were denied access to it because of hazardous materials, which are not, the only thing that we find currently is the roof. However, so I think that that committee needs to dig a little deeper, free up the time that the town manager is going to have to take to investigate a lot of this. I mean, I sent the FOIA and I got repeated information, but yet it took 2 hours for that. That's a lot of time, I agree. And I asked for a lot of information, but I didn't even get that print out in the drawing that was presented here in that FOIA. So there's a lot, and I think the library should be considered in all of that, because as it stands right now, they separated the property, had it surveyed, but why has nothing been done with that? And I think that's something else the committee can help move forward with. So just to say, yeah, sell it, yes. But if the case is that nobody can go inside of it, how are you going to have realtors go in and take a look at it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I saw somebody else ready to speak.
Yeah, Carrie Heckle.
Carrie?
Hi, I'm Carrie Heckle. Can you just read again what the purpose of purchasing the home was initially? I thought you said for the purpose of the library?
Yeah.
Just a minute here. So the article says, the town voted to authorize the town council to purchase land and buildings contiguous to the Lawrence Public Library for an amount not to exceed $210,000 and to appropriate the sum of $75,000 from the library reserve account for this purpose, and to authorize the town council to borrow the balance needed at terms and conditions they deemed in the town's best interest, and to sell any extra land and buildings purchased, and to apply that proceeds of that sale to the loan and to the library reserve account.
Thank you. And to confirm, the library as it stands right now is not ADA compliant.
Right.
I think that really needs to be taken in consideration if we're trying to create an inclusive community.
One other, I recall when you asked about an idea for the expansion, it was $2 million. That was in 2008, just for one thing. Again, committee can bring out a whole lot of things. I think that the ADA situation definitely has to be addressed. If it's not ADA accessible right now, then are we in violation of federal law?
Can I just say, everybody can enter the library, whether they're in a wheelchair or anything. They cannot go up the stairs. So we can accommodate them if they need to, but they just can't go up the stairs. So there's a ramp to get in, there's a handicap bathroom, so people can.
Thanks for the clarification,
That
Leslie.
answers. Again, a 90-day window for somebody to look into. My whole objective for bringing it before this council was so that we don't weigh down the administration in the town office taking care of other things that can be taken care of on a daily basis. And I think by doing that, it will give more thorough information back to the council to decide and have other input as to whether you want to sell the building, knock it down, or restore it and keep it for the library. The other thing that that committee can show is that, you know, look into, you got a place there all marked out for parking. Why hasn't any parking room? You can do that without even doing anything else, but that hasn't been done. Again, I think that that committee should work with the library if there is still a committee formed. Because initially there was a committee to bring funds before. So I just think that it's important. the community all the way around. Thank you.
And I would agree with that. I mean, I think that's important. I think that's when we first talked about the committee. I think there are lots of options. If you have a bunch of heads together, you come up with a lot of ideas and you have a lot of discussion. There seems to be like the overriding, like, oh, we should sell the place. But I think there's more than one option. So I would agree with that, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah, Alyssa, are the Friends of the Library still functioning?
No. But
Okay,
there
that
is
was
a
the
group-
committee
There
that-
is an informal group. There is an informal group that can be more formalized in the works. But right now, I believe though that all those years ago, it was an advisory board and not the Friends group who were actually kind of taking care of that and looking at the grants and all of that stuff. And most of those people have since passed away.
Okay. Alyssa, do you think that you being the library director should be involved in this committee?
Yes. I would like to be, yes.
All right. Then I would change the amount, the number of people to include two counselors, the librarian, and 3 members from the public. And that's a 50-50.
Okay.
And then what is the goal again for this committee?
My-
Could you reread that?
Yeah, my
please?
initial goal is to present options and costs of those options, as well as pros and cons of each option for the town of Fairfield, present and future.
And Matt, I need you to send everything you just read from. I haven't received
Yeah.
that yet.
Great.
All
We had
right.
to talk, yeah. we
Yeah,
wanted to-
thank you.
We wanted to,
Do we
Dial
want
it
to
in.
include in that goal for the future of the library? It needs, there's nothing in there to say that this effort is to help the library, not just the town of Fairfield, but it has to be specific to the library, and there's nothing in there that says that.
I think a lot of people get confused of the law. There is part of that law is already been dedicated to the library.
But
So we're only talking the front part of that law.
Right.
Then that has the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
and its effects on, and
It's like
Yes, that would be
126
committee.
feet by 102 feet or
Right.
something like that.
But is it designated parking now?
No.
No. And so that would need to be remedied.
and its effects on the LPL.
Yes. Yeah. Today and in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you reread it, please?
So to present options and costs of those options, as well as pros and cons of each option for the town of Fairfield, present and future, and its effects on the LPL.
Not effects. Not effects. You're looking at no. Read it again, it's not effects. I'm sorry, guys,
To present options and costs of those options, as well as the pros and cons of each option for the town of Fairfield. And then I had present and future, and its effects on the LPL. So you can say the town of Fairfield, the Lawrence Public Library, present and future.
And
Or you can just scratch out the town of Fairfield and just, each option as it affects.
I would take out the town
Yeah.
of Fairfield because the library is part of it. And then under,
The pros
it's
and cons
not
of each option
effects.
each option as it affects the Lawrence Public Library, present and future.
No. As it, I'm sorry, normally I do this before the meeting.
Anybody want a wordsmith?
Benefit?
As it, I like benefit better than
To benefit
effects.
Lawrence Public Library.
To the benefit of the
Yeah,
Lawrence
or for the
Public
benefit
Library.
of.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, now you'll have to read it again.
To present options and costs, you've heard this one before. They present the options and costs of those options, as well as the pros and cons of each option for the benefit of the LPL, present and future.
That's good. I'm happy with that now.
I'm looking forward to that again.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Welcome.
Yeah, again, I just want to say that that whole property before divided went to the town. Townspeople voted to purchase the property exclusively for the expansion of the library. It was then later divided, and then, as they said, but I don't recall reading it, and I can be corrected because I've been wrong about the property in itself. But I think that when looking at it, again, regardless, the committee's going to bring a lot of information because we'll be able to go and look at records, and not we, but whomever is the committee, and go and look. Again, it's the time that it's going to take that will not take away from the town manager or any administrators.
Although she has to come to our meetings.
Thank you.
So so we've discussed this issue. Was it? We have a motion and a second initially to form a committee, and we have a proposal formed together for the committee now. Is that still our wish?
So you have a motion and a second on that?
Yeah.
Yep. So we had a discussion. So all those in favor of forming that committee?
4-0 carries.
Thank you. Good discussion again. All right. So now we have the 7th order, council workshop and other business. So this is, at this point, number 1 is discuss finalization of the annual town budget meeting warrant on 3/13/24.
Okay. Frank,
So-
did you want to speak?
So do you want to talk do we have questions as we go through this? We have some.
You wanted to speak on item 2?
No,
Item
she's
two?
here for this
One?
item.
Okay, sorry.
If you need, if the.
Okay, last year when we did the budget process, Pal was talking about doing some updates and redoing things to make it run more effectively. And I was just wondering how things have gone since the 23 meeting, budget meeting.
It's been going very well. We have a lot of young blood in there on the board now, and we've raised more money than we ever have before.
So you have more revenue coming in.
Yes.
Yeah, and,
And the
okay.
fields, of course, we're working on the fields. We're going to be spending more money on the fields this year. Again, probably not as much as we did the year before this one, but we're going to spend quite a bit of money on the fields again.
Beyond what the town is doing with the mowing and that kind of thing.
Right,
So
right. We're talking
Are you
about
talking about fences and?
fertilization, that's right, fences.
Yeah.
The field hockey fields need it done.
Yeah.
They need a fence because the ball's going now into the swamp. So
Yeah.
we're going to put a fence up to prevent that from happening.
Okay.
So we have field improvements over the last few years, been $20,000 each year. So
Yeah.
as expenses. So it's like you're doing more than you did last.
That's right, we're going to end up doing more. And we had a dugout that was destroyed by the windstorm, and that'll be fixed. It'll cost $6,000 just for that.
And I'm trying to find it.
There was a question, I think, that came up from the Budget Committee, so there's the increase in expenses of the fundraiser, and...
Of which fundraiser, I'm sorry?
So, let's find it again. Fundraiser expense, under expenses, from jumping from 7 to 17,000. However, we did see that the fundraiser projected income had jumped to 70,000. I think there were questions on that end. So what were those increased expenses? So is that maybe increased, I'm not sure if you're doing tournaments, so are those referees, more people helping on that end, so that kind of thing?
Yes, we were very fortunate to be able to start doing the fundraisers again, especially for basketball. Basketball is our biggest fundraiser, and in fact, it's going to be happening this weekend at the junior high, and then with the following, I think the third weekend, not just the weekend after this, but the one after that. So we're going to have 2 weekends where we have basketball tournaments, and it's going very well. We've raised quite a bit from sponsors. We've had several significant sponsors. Hutamaki gave us $1,000, Central Maine Motors gave us $1,000, and we've had many other sponsors giving us money as well. So the money that we're getting from the town of Fairfield is very important to our continued ability to reach as many children as we can. And nobody has ever denied playing for PAL if they don't have money. And of course, we're continuing to do the summer program because we feel very strongly about that. I'd like to, we have the numbers, but I think I'd like to have Joe speak about the, what she sees.
Yeah. Joe Perry. Yep. When Frank says that we've had more revenue and we're making more money, that's not untrue. And we're trying to get all of our departments to do more fundraisers. In fact, our summer program has already planned. We have 2 new directors and they've already planned a fundraiser. But even though we've raised more money, at least for the summer program, which is what I'm going to speak to, minimum wage has gone up. And all of our counselors that we hire are from the high school. They interview, which is great skills for them. I've actually had 2 students that have been counselors for us that are now going into education because they loved it so much. This is where they want to be. But minimum wage is going up. Everything is going up. So while we are making more, we're treading water, which is great. I don't want to be a millionaire. Well, personally, I don't want to be a millionaire, but so we're providing a service to these kids. We don't deny any one of the kids. We have children that pay sometimes all of what we'll charge and ask for. Some pay half. Some will say we'll pay, and they never end up paying. It's not their fault. We don't hunt them down. We don't ask. We absorb that cost because that's what Dick did, and that's what we will continue to do with whatever we have. And we have a great group of summer program kids that work for us, and you probably know most of them, and we have very good counselors. So yes, while our revenue's gone up, everything else to provide that program's gone up. And we're just fortunate that SAD 49 allows us to use the space at the high school, and they have allowed us this last year 2 bus drivers, which was down, so we are limited to the number of kids we can take because of the space that the bus provides. But we still do what we do, and the kids are, if you could just come down and see them, the kids are awesome. This past summer, we had the fire department come down with their trucks. We had the police department come down. They had 2 officers they sent down. We had a barbecue for everybody, and the kids absolutely loved it. The fire department actually said, just let us know in advance, and we'll put it on the calendar, because they had so much fun. So we really, and I've actually been in contact with the woman that works in the children's section of the library, and we want to incorporate that more with the kids, this coming summer, so.
Okay, I have a question. Because PAL provides scholarships to those that can't afford it. Offhand, do you know roughly the percentage of scholarships that you give out? For
the entire program?
For the entire program.
I'd say 10%.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bob?
Bob Pillsbury, PAL board member. I would say it's very close to that, but it may be closer to 15%. But it definitely varies on the different programs that we provide. So it could be 15%, could be 10%, depending on the sport or the season. One thing while I'm up here, I will mention, we were asked by the Budget Committee last year from Fairfield to, somebody had mentioned the fence program. We had talked about that. We did put some time, actually a lot of volunteer time. There was some expense with repairs for materials, for parts. We did do a lot of work to the field last year, which was also some volunteer, but we had some materials for the football field. We will be doing some more work to that football field and the soccer field to bring it up to spec back to the crown, and also some drainage issues with the soccer field. We are also looking at a fence project this year. More volunteer hours, but there will be probably a little bit more expense than last year with some fencing itself, and that'll be that perimeter fence that goes all the way from the Babe Ruth field down along on the roadside adjacent to the pond. So we'll be doing some projects like that. So.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think reiterating some questions that came through from the Budget Committee. When I look at this, I have to look at the sponsors. So they projected for 2024 actually decreased in sponsor. I mean, like there's goes from 8,000 in 2023 down to 5,000 in 2024. And then out of the field improvements, it's just a lump sum, $20,000. I think there is some discussion that it'd be nice to see itemized expenses out of that, so it's instead of a lump sum, like, hey, so how much did we spend on those? So when we're giving tax dollars away, which I think is supporting a good cause, it'd be nice to have some concrete measurement.
We
of
have
that.
the information.
So we don't
have
see
the
it,
information.
but we don't see it.
Well,
I'm
if
just-
you give us direct questions, we'll give you the information. It's not, I use QuickBooks with all our information.
Yeah.
I'm a CPA.
Yeah,
I'm
not
very
calling-
happy
not-
to give you all the information that you need to have.
Very good.
I put a lot of professional time into this.
I'm sure you do.
So,
But I'm
you know,
also,
so
but I'm
I'd like
also having to speak for the council, or speak for the other citizens of this town, and people can shoot me down right now, and but I'm the one that just has to ask the questions. So that's.
I'm glad to answer them.
So that's a good thing. So I think that that's one of those things. So having those expenses broken out more than just a lump sum would be helpful for people to see. I also think that when I break down the numbers, so Fairfield actually, and as the request goes through this year for the 4 towns that are involved, it's about $84,500 for 2024. And Fairfield has about 41% of the kids, but we pay 47% of the money. So it's just one of those, again, one of those questions that people will have, and I have to ask those questions. I'm not trying to be the bad guy. I just have to ask those questions.
That's good.
Yep. We're very glad to answer them. What can,
Yeah. So
do you have specific questions? I mean, is it-
I'll let my other counselors talk as well.
No.
I'm just trying to ask those questions.
I'm good.
I know these questions came up from the Budget Committee.
I asked
and
them.
I'm
Well, the
here.
Budget Committee also only was going to give us $25,000. So it's, the way is the way this works is that, so if Fairfield, the council goes with $40,000, then that would be what's going to be on the warrant.
Correct.
Now, if Fairfield was to do 25, and here the council would say 25, just, how does that work? Can we increase that? Can someone from the floor?
So I can answer
say,
that one, actually.
ask for more?
that one. So there'll be a high and a low put in, or
Yep,
this-
high and a low.
a council number and a Budget Committee number. And so you can always drop it and cut it, so the town can vote to cut that number from the high number, but they can't vote to go up. So.
They cannot vote to go up.
Right.
So if the town council, so the number in the warrant is the ceiling of the article.
That's right.
Right.
Very good. So that's what we're here to request. We're requesting the $40,000. And the Budget Committee's already proposed $25,000. So we're hoping to have a high and a low, and let the people from the town vote for that. That's what we're looking for.
So I can, real quick, I can address the 41% question. The majority of our events take place in Fairfield. The majority of the games, especially, for baseball, football, soccer, field hockey, those all take place in Fairfield. For the majority, all the games take place. A lot of, again, I mentioned it earlier, but there's a lot of field repair, upkeep. The town does some mowing for us, but any of the building repairs, we do have buildings. Frank mentioned the dugout, so that's a big part of that, is just the upkeep of the facilities that we use.
Super. So that's one part of it. We have a bunch more of the budget still to go through, but that's just one fragment of it. So I appreciate the input. And thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you very much for considering us.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. We've had a long relationship, well over 50 years, almost 60 years.
Yep. Definitely.
So I noticed it's in the next issue is regarding Parks and Rec.
Right, that's a separate issue.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I would like to make a motion.
So do we have other, but do we have other, so
You
do you
don't-
want to talk about the rest of them?
You don't actually need to make a motion on any of these things.
Okay.
Okay.
But I-
Do you want
Well,
to
I'm
hit this one
talking-
first, or do you want to go through some of the other, rest of the issues on the budget?
Yeah, go in order.
It's what
I'd
you're
like
up
to
to.
go in order.
So the paper that I sent you yesterday
Right.
includes everything except for, thankfully, Councilor Thibodeau pointed out that I forgot to include the difference in the revenue piece. So you always have a meeting after the Budget Committee has their meeting. You've already gone through, set your numbers. This is your opportunity to adjust those numbers from what you set them at or keep them where they were. So one of the biggest things that came up during the Budget Committee meeting was, of course, that insurance, that paid family medical leave piece. So that's all the various departments and all of the dollar amounts that the Budget Committee had approved, because we were aware of them at that time. So these would be all of the ones that we would need to add into the various departments. I just need to know if you're okay with that being added in for your number.
I am. Because we kind of have to anyways.
All of those
They're
departments,
mandated.
it's the law.
It's the law, so kind of have to. Yep.
What's going to happen is at your next meeting, this budget's going to come to you completely finalized. When you approve the warrant, that's when you approve your official budget submissions. But we have to prepare that document as to what your request is.
Right.
So that's that piece.
Yeah. And then,
And then capital reserves, you had put forth capital reserves the same as the department request, which for capital reserves was $325,000. The Budget Committee changed that so that it only included $105,000 specifically for Public Works capital reserves and $20,000 for a revaluation reserve. So that removed all building capital reserve amounts, the police department's capital reserve amount, the capital reserve for computers, the capital reserve for playgrounds, and actually cut the capital reserve amount from revaluation. Do you want to keep your request as it was, go forward with the Budget Committee's request, and then folks can decide at town meeting, or did you want to change your request?
I have my thoughts.
Do you recommend?
I have my thoughts.
Dwayne had.
I say keep on, we approved they're needed, it's an investment in town and town equipment and buildings.
I think my big. Go ahead, sorry, I thought you stopped, sorry. I
So I'm
apologize.
quite sure both numbers are gonna come up in the warrant, so it's still up to the townspeople.
Right. And I'll second that.
I'm just concerned too, if we do like lower it, something comes up, we don't have the,
Well, take a look what Bruce said earlier about next year needing a dump truck.
Yeah.
We don't have enough money as it is. So what happens then? And who's going to go
what
do the
if
plowing?
something, what's the other, what if something happens this year,
Oh, yeah.
Right, unexpected.
Yeah.
unexpected?
Yeah.
So,
I guess my biggest one would be the capital improvements on the building, because we are in the process of looking at a building, audit and what we are going to do with those buildings. And so we have 380,000, or plus or minus, in a capital improvements for buildings at this point. I'm not sure if we need to have a larger, I mean, when does that amount kind of max out for us for capital improvements on those buildings, especially when we're looking at maybe building, and if we have to build another few $1,000s, not even $90,000 is a drop in the bucket, we're going to be looking at bonding, doing everything else to build any kind of public works or public safety combined building, whatever the proposal might be. I mean, that's going to be a multi-million-dollar project. So, looking at we have a increase in taxes potentially this year. Maybe we just have to bite that bullet, and we have to do that. But that's an amount of savings that we have there. That's the one that I really look at. I do think the equipment reserve, it was cut significantly, but you're already talking to Bruce about that, and hearing him and what we have to do this next year. The revaluation reserve, again, I can go either way on that one, because eventually we're going to have to spend it, but do we have to spend it this year?
send both the playground too.
But we have 27,000 or so in that.
You're right, the playground has 27,332, and the Budget Committee, we recommended the full 2,000, and then 1,000 came from the Budget Committee, and, it's money that's sitting there, but when we think about playgrounds, it costs just $5,000 a year just to do the playground out and back of the community center.
The mulch.
and mulch, for mulch and, so, we're talking, I would like to see the 2,000 from the council stay in there and let the townspeople
under-
go for it.
2,000 under what? Sorry.
You mean the number's the same, which is
Yes, keep the
200,000 more?
numbers the same.
200,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
keep the numbers the same.
Yeah, and that was for planning and development.
2,000 there, 3,000 concerts in the park, Fairfield Festival.
Right.
Did you have a question with that one?
Fairfield Festival, I thought they kept in there.
They
the
recommended
3,000.
zero.
Zero.
They did?
Yep. they
Concerts
had-
in the park, they kept the same as the request,
No.
and then cut planning and development in half.
Okay, I'm sorry, concerts in the park. The Fairfield Festival, again, we're going to have our, what is it, sesquicentennial or something like that in 2028. So that would be money that a committee could use for that purpose, for that event. And long story short for me is, when we're talking about this, we've gone how many years without an increase in our taxes that would amount to anything? Usually it's around 1% increase. We're looking at a larger increase this year. Most of the increases are due to
Mandatory state.
it's salaries and it's for the people. And eventually we're going to have to take a hit because we've towed the line so well for the past 5 years. And I'd rather do it now than tomorrow.
Maybe worse tomorrow.
It could be worse. We're also looking at
So the revenue-
$1,000, $2,000 in a multi-million-dollar budget. I mean, that's just like a drop in the bucket. I would like to see us keep whatever we had said originally and let the townspeople decide. That's how I feel. I know the Budget Committee had their reasons, but we have ours as well.
That's part of the reason. Just have that
Makes for
discussion.
great debate at town meeting.
Town meeting,
It really
and
does.
allows that
Good
to
discussion.
happen.
No.
So what?
PAL is your next one?
PAL. Keep
You
it
had
at
recommended the
40,000
40
for
and
me.
then the 25.
So, and we also look at the amount spent each year. So again, it's every little bit. So we just say, here it is. And I think so that goes with any of these things. So if you do 40,000, we can choose at the town meeting to vote one way or the other, or vote for a different number. They're looking at this expenses over the last few years. The town of Fairfield, they actually look at $35,000. So, and actually the 41% would be at $35,000. So part of me says $35,000, but if you guys decide 40, that's why we're a council, and one voice does not equal the answer. So we recommend make a recommendation and then go from there.
Right, it can always be lowered.
And this isn't an increase, the $40,000 is the same exact amount that's in this current fiscal year budget, just so you're aware. Okay.
But I think it's also with the fact that we're raising taxes. We'll probably have to raise taxes this year. So everybody looks at those things, and that's why I look at every little bit does make a difference. And at least if it's any loss is actually shouldered by everyone, so nobody gets cut excessively, and so we have to think about those things.
But and I'd like to remind the public, it's, our municipal budget is just 1/3 of the whole tax picture. It's the county and the school system that usually jacks up the amount on the taxes.
So for PAL, council consensus, keep it the same?
For me, it is.
Consensus?
Let them discuss it at town meeting.
Yep.
I have my opinions, but I've already voiced mine a little bit, so.
Dwayne?
So I think it's fine to have
That's
it.
it, keep it the same. They didn't increase.
No. Okay.
So I think when we're looking at having to cut other things, I think it's, again, the people are going to shoot daggers at me for trying to do my, at least to have that discussion and have that point. I'm a full supporter of PAL, and my daughters have all gone through PAL, and I've sponsored PAL. And I think that's an important part, is that we need to look at also having those breakdowns. And I think it's with anything. So I look at our budgets that come from each department are pretty granular, right down to postage. So, I think it's important to have those numbers from anybody that we're trying to, that's requesting taxpayer dollars. So.
And then the last one is revenue, which is the undesignated fund balance piece. So council had put forward a total of the 700,000, but the budget committee did 950,000. What is your pleasure?
So again, at the town meeting, that can be changed. It can be, so that one is the kind of, actually you can go
Down.
So yeah, so in this
Same
case.
thing, can go down.
Right, so.
So you'd put the higher amount forward.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't remember the reasoning for the 950,000.
So the biggest reasoning for it is because of the fact that basically this budget is up 300,000 in expenses, but down 200,000 in revenue. So to match the expenses, they took almost 300,000 out of the budget and then upped the undesignated fund balance, the 200,000 to cover the offset. And the reason the revenue's down is because you used ARPA for the 97,000 for Delta, which is now going to go to 161,000 that you're not using ARPA for. And then you used 150,000 from ARPA towards paving, but you didn't take 150,000 out of this next year's appropriation. So that's why.
Okay.
How much did you say Delta was?
161,000. They went to $25 per capita.
And it's not stopping there.
The only concern I have, and you certainly can put the number forward as the higher number in the revenue, but I do want to caution you that if you use almost $1 million in undesignated fund balance, you could potentially be setting yourself up for the fact that it is not going to be there next year when you need to use it again, right? So just remember that. The undesignated fund balance piece, we've done the calculation. It does keep us, we're fine, so 3 months worth. We would have almost $4 million to be used if we only kept 3 months in the budget. But if you keep 6 months in the budget, you only have $704,000 to use surplus. So it's more than 3 months, keeps our undesignated fund balance more than 3 months, but less than 6 months.
So the budget committee recommended the higher dollar amount, so we can go to warrant with that higher dollar amount and then let the town decide from there.
Yep, you absolutely can. Okay, so we'll move that to the higher one.
So actually, if it's for point of clarification, so Adam, would you like to?
Yeah, I didn't know if we were allowed to ask something. So I am on the budget committee, obviously hearing all this. Does the budget committee get an opportunity like this to explain reasoning?
At town meeting.
At town meeting,
At town
okay.
meeting, that's why you're required to be at town meeting. So what happens is in the town meeting warrant, the council's recommendation and the budget committee recommendation both have to be listed.
Yep.
And then it's at town meeting. And typically what happens is that when there's a difference between the two, the chair, which is Tim Martin, would get up and explain the reason why the budget committee voted the way they did and the council the way they did.
Okay.
And so that they're both given an ample opportunity for each one.
Okay, because I just wanted clarification on that last one. The justification was more than that.
Yeah.
It was about balance year over year as
Balancing
well.
the whole thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because that balance has,
Right, trying to have
well,
balance as
that
close as we could.
undesignated balance has grown quite a bit.
So
That's
it's
why we wanted to lessen the burden on taxpayers. I just wanted to point that out.
And that's why even the discussion of that balance at a 3.5% interest rate refunds itself.
You don't know offhand, Michelle, the increase percentage if we keep, everything goes in without discussion. That means that all the higher rates stay in there, but we have that 250,000 in undesignated funds. How much more will that make the increase from 23, 24?
I don't know off the top of my head, but give me 1 second. I can make an adjustment.
Hold, please.
Please. We'll be right with you. It looks like for the council's budget, it'll be just over, not quite a $250,000 increase, which is almost 13%.
Almost 30?
13.
13%?
It's like 12.59%.
Okay, thank you.
Well, but that's without me going in and adding in all of the new
insurance.
family medical leave. So once that's done, then these numbers, that whole entire sheet just gets recalculated.
Right.
And we'll
So-
have that specifically for, but that's a rough guess, because that entire amount only is just over $20,000, and in the grand scheme of things, with these kind of numbers, it's not that
The
big.
tough part too is that and then we won't know when we vote actually, is what our actual state number will be. Will we?
Right, so we don't know for certain what our revenue sharing numbers are gonna be. You also don't know for certain what your county budget's gonna be, and you don't know what your school budget's gonna be. And the school budget, while I think they're just getting ready to start that process, but what I've heard is that they've decreased the state funding amount, and all of the one-time pandemic relief funds are gone. So depending on how those were used in the past, may have a very big influence on what the school budget looks like, but I haven't gotten that number yet. I've started that conversation with the superintendent, but they're not there yet, so.
Thank you. Tough
Okay.
questions, tough answers.
So we'll put all this stuff together for you, and then what you're gonna have at the next meeting, it's gonna be the warrant, because the mailers need to go out, all of that stuff will have to start happening. Your public hearing will be in April, your first meeting in April. And town meeting, of course, is the second Monday in May, so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So our second one is to discuss possible Parks and Recreation Department creation.
Because that's why I asked for that to be put on.
Yes, I think it's, yeah.
All right, in 2014, the comprehensive plan was redone, and part of it was, Part 4 is all about recreation and cultural resources, and in it talks about a Parks and Recreation Department, of which we have never had in the town of Fairfield. The goal for recreation and culture is to promote and protect the availability of indoor and outdoor recreation opportunities for Fairfield citizens, including access to surface waters. In this goal, we have to consider the position of Recreation Director, perhaps collaborating with MSAD 49 and/or PAL. We have not considered this, and I would like to bring it up for discussion. So I know that we've got Parks, we've got PAL that's doing a wonderful job. I'd love to hear from PAL what your thoughts are on it. I did some looking online, and Waterville has a Parks and Rec department, of which they pay in administrative fees $149,600 a year, and their operating costs are, this is flooring, $765,672. And they took out a $5.28 million bond in 2021, so that's why their operating costs seem to be so much higher. I was not able to find a budget for Clinton. Clinton's Parks and Rec Department is a 501c3. It is not managed by the town of Clinton, but done by a group of people. They have a board of directors. Winslow, their Parks and Rec for the 24 fiscal year, their cost is $194,900, which includes administration, contact services, and other expenses. It's a discussion that would mean, a big effect on our budget. But are we ready for this? Do we want to have a Parks and Rec department in our town? I mean, we've got beautiful parks. We've got all these sports that are going on. Fairfield's known as a sports town, and yet we don't have a Parks and Rec department. What's your feeling?
So I think it's definitely time, because PAL does a great job, but it's only for a very certain set of our citizens, the youngsters, from kindergarten up through 6th grade. really recreation should be for all citizens. And so where's that chance for those kids who aren't playing sports? Maybe, let's talk about cross-country skiing. Let's talk about snowshoeing. Let's talk about fishing. Let's talk about some of those things. Let's take advantage of the water. And then getting to your, my age and a little bit older, senior citizens, let's give us a chance where we're going to need to go, give us opportunities too. And that's where you have that Parks and Rec. Hey, there's this community center down here, plenty of room for an office. We could keep this building open and manned. There are lots of good things we can do. And I think there's this perception that you have to have one or the other. Like PAL, if we start a rec department, PAL's gone. I don't see that at all. I see PAL as a totally separate but partner organization, just like they kind of do in Clinton. Clinton has PAL. Clinton has Parks and Rec. I mean, so I think there's lots of ways to do things together. And I think it also, the rink would the skating rink would be a great example of that, because there was a movement, but there wasn't a good conduit for an idea. So if that idea had come to, hey, I have this idea, let's go to Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec could go to wherever, and that would streamline the process. So you're not trying to who's going to do this? Who's going to get the insurance? How do we negotiate this? Where's it? We have that conduit in place. So to me, that just allows better access for all citizens, better opportunities, especially since we're working on a plan to look at and take advantage of Fairfield's location and its natural resources, that we can use recreation to be a part of it, and that can actually be a really nice economic driver. So to me, it makes total sense. But obviously it is an expense, but I think there's ways I think it could really pay for itself.
I think it would expand the resources of the community too. So any ideas and things like that, so I think it'd be a good idea.
Okay. Dwayne?
I agree.
You agree? Frank, did you want to speak about this? Because I'd written you down as wanting to.
I participate in Parks and Rec in Waterville, because as an adult, the cross-country skiing there it's world class. I think a lot of people don't really understand that. You have the Kobe participates, they have meets there. And, from college all the way down to, youngsters. So it's, how can we compete with that? I mean, it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. We're talking, I think you said, what, $700,000 is their budget, their Parks and Rec budget?
In the town of in the city of Waterville.
And of course, Matt Skehan, who I know well, he was on the committee for the cross country when we built that. And he's not only Parks and Rec, he's also, I think he's involved with
Public Works.
Right, Michelle. So he's got two jobs. He's an outstanding person. I don't know, guys. I mean, it just seems like, it doesn't sound like you have any money left. I mean, it sounds tough, I mean, you guys are in a tough position. I mean, the state's been very generous the last, couple years, but I just don't know what to say. I mean, I know we have control, and we have it under control in terms of, K through 6. The kids are doing, I think they have outstanding programs. We have some of the best programs in the state of Maine. People always wonder, how does PAL do it? How does PAL do what they've done?
And I really don't see anything changing if we did have a Parks and
Rec.
Rec.
Not a bit. No. And I agree with you guys, absolutely.
But I think we have to look at, and I think you have to really, again, speaking to those kids who aren't doing one of the organized sports.
That's right.
I mean, that's where do those kids go?
That's what arts, it's...
Right. So I think there's a big opportunity. I think that's where we start this process, right? So nobody's saying that in June, we're going to have put together an article for the town meeting to start a Parks and Rec department.
Yep.
Because this is going to be a year-long, multi-year-long process to research what it looks like, the scope of it, the cost of it, and where that funding comes from. Okay. So I think, but that's our job, and then to recruit people from the community to help form that.
Okay. I mean, $40,000 for PAL. I mean, that's nothing. compared to what the other towns are doing. Winslow, look at Winslow. I mean, that's a size, similar size to us.
But
I
also,
mean,
look
you can't cut up funds.
So there's municipal, so in those towns, like Waterville, they have a municipal school system. So it's much easier to drive an overall budget and have the interactions between public works and the school department and a rec department, because it's all part of the overall town budget.
Let's say also too that other towns have benefactors too. They have people donating, organizations. So that's what we
just haven't asked.
That's what Fairfield doesn't have.
We just haven't asked.
Yeah. Bob?
Can I? Yep. So, to your comment about the Clinton Parks and Rec, we have entered into a very good relationship in the last couple of years. It's getting stronger with them, and we're working with Anthony very close. We've been continuing to do that, and I see that expanding. And to the point of your other programs, non-athletic, we have talked at the board level about expanding our summer program to have some of those more educational programs as part of our program for the summer. So that's definitely something we want to look at as well. So it could be something to certainly
and that's great.
talk about.
And that's part of the whole, right, that's whole part of the whole discussion process, is to get all the shareholders together and let's talk about what that might look like and go from there. I think that's really important to start. If you don't start the discussion someplace, it's on our plan, right?
It is.
And it hasn't been addressed. So let's address it and let's move forward. And if we can't afford it and we don't like it, then we don't have to do it. But if you don't start the discussion, it never happens.
Is this something that we would want to put into a referendum for the budget meeting, for in June?
So I've thought about this since the last time that it was brought up, and I'm concerned that you don't have enough information gathered for a referendum in June. But what we could do is start the process of gathering that information for you, just like what you did with other communities. But I also know that just listing off dollar amounts doesn't necessarily give you the picture of what it is that they look like. So what we could do is just start gathering information for you about like-sized municipalities. Like it is difficult to compare because you have to take that component of that grade 6 and younger out with PAL. But if you're looking at if it's more towards like parks maintenance, trails maintenance, what can you do for other recreational pieces, that sort of stuff. But we can start gathering information for you of what other municipalities do, and bring that back, and then start getting a process together so that you know that you can just ask people the question, and we can do it very simply without doing a total ballot vote. There are various different ways that we can do a poll or a survey or all of those things that we can have people give input, but I think you need a lot more information before you ask that question, because there's just too many unknowns as to what you're talking about. Parks and Recreation means something different to every single person that you start that conversation to. So how do you narrow that down into a more fixed point?
Okay. So how do we want to handle this then? Just come back in a couple months to...
If that's what you like, we absolutely can do that. Right? We can just start working on that,
Yeah.
and kind of gather up all of that information and let you know what we've gotten, and then you can go from there. Let's just make it so that it's like after town meeting. It would be great.
And I think it just means we need to make sure that it stays on the agenda.
Right. So we'll say town meeting's going to be in May, so...
So that gives
first
us a
meeting
couple
in
of
June.
months. The first meeting in June, we can report back to you about information on Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
No
Sounds
problem.
good. Thank you.
So now the next one is to discuss Somerset County flood relief funds, municipal, county, state, and federal parameters. So we have, I think it was, I apologize, the amount was $20,000 given to us by Somerset County. To remind people. So the discussion on that end, there was some discussion about how to use those funds, and whether there was the line item to have an emergency fund that was designated for that in the future. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So to have that fund, and then so there's other discussion how to use those funds.
I don't mind just letting them sit there, and if needed, we'll have that backup. because I don't think we have to come up with a plan right today to say, well, we've got this $20,000, let's spend it. We don't know what's going to come up in the future. And I just think that having that little cushion in case of an emergency, I think it's something that we don't have to go into our other budgets.
I hate to bite the hand that feeds us, although we feed them we give them a lot. So Somerset County, I think, threw this out there to make it look good. Like, here's some money, and they didn't have to handle it at all, because then, like, what are the parameters? Well, we don't have any. How are you going to use it? You can use it however you want. It's just like it was thrown at us, and so now we have to deal with how. I mean, hey, it's a great little gift, but if we don't have any parameters on how to spend it, on how to handle it, that's a little more different.
I know at the last meeting it said it came from 211. At the state 211 you call in saying I had a damage, but that's state level.
Right. If you had
right.
Funds
was this part? No, it was part of it, but
I don't believe
for individuals that wasn't.
Michelle can speak to that.
Well, I mean, is this part of the FEMA relief?
Yeah.
Is that what your question is? No. No, this is straight from the county.
Because I know they mentioned 211, because that's a state DHS program for people to call in saying I have damage.
Well, 211 is a clearinghouse for folks that want you to call them. It's a resource information. You didn't actually talk to the people at 211. When you called 211 and you told them what you wanted, they put you through to where you were actually supposed to go, which was to be able to file that preliminary claim through FEMA. And FEMA has been out meeting with those folks that filed those claims. I've been told that once you meet with them up at the Skowhegan office, they're cutting checks within 7 days. Very, very quickly for folks to refund them for those sorts of things that were qualified for. Yeah, but this had nothing to do with that. This was straight from the county's community benefit fund, which is derived from tax dollars that would it goes into a fund that's similar to like a TIF district. It's a fund paid in lieu of taxes.
So there was a discussion last time about individual distribution of that, which Somerset County didn't really give us guidance on, but the fact is you're not supposed to be using public dollars for individual gain, so there's that whole discussion. If we don't have the parameters set in who is eligible for those funds, how do we as a small community and short on manpower go and review all of the claims? I think that's really more of a 2-on-1 kind of situation. I look at this as being actually a set of funds that we can have on hand. And like Michelle was asking about this, so if we had something come in the spring, how do we supply food to the Norwich Walk emergency shelter that we had to utilize, so we could actually buy food for those folks? Do we buy water? Do we have those things on hand? There are lots of things we could use, but I think that at the moment it's best to at least have it designated as an emergency fund, an emergency account, and to use it that way. But I'm open. I mean, again, it's just one opinion, one thought.
So I'd like a clarifying question, because this is set up in basically a capital reserve fund, so it is not going to just roll into the general fund when the fiscal year ends. It will stay there until it is spent and gone. Would it be helpful if myself and the department heads, the first responder department heads, got together and came up with a list of items for you, or situations, things that would be useful to use emergency management funds on, so that you would know what the category is? Because when we have capital reserve accounts now, right, so if it's capital reserve account for public works equipment, we know public works equipment over $5,000 is eligible for that. So do you want like a category of funds, eligible purchases for emergency management funds?
I would feel better about that, because I would feel better that it's not just sitting in an account someplace.
And everybody's like, we don't know what we can spend it on,
Spend it
because
on.
I don't think that that's useful.
I don't think that's useful. If we have it, I would like to use it in a positive cause, but I just like to have some guidelines on what we should.
And so would we. So, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
They have to remember, we're reinvesting into the community center to use as a shelter, or at least a warming shelter, so you're still gonna need water, food, whatever for that.
All right, so we'll get that to you, either your next meeting or the meeting after. We can do that. Okay.
Very good. So number 4 is to discuss other council business. Councilor Thibodeau.
I think it was Ron that spoke about the stove earlier in the meeting. We've applied for a grant for a stove. It's due in something like March 15th or something, so we won't know probably until June. The stove is not working at this time. If we don't get this grant this time around, we will seek other alternative measures. But
Why can't we just purchase some stoves so people can use them when they rent the place?
you know, it hasn't, we're looking at maybe, 3 to 6 months. We can wait and see if we get the money. It's money that's out there. We should be able to take advantage of it. So let's wait 3 to 6 months. The alternative, probably Plan B, would be to go out and buy it.
But yeah, I think it's, once again, Stephanie, you've been a champion for the kitchen. Unfortunately, we've been kind of denied every time. And
Just once.
Yeah, well, it seems like the roadblocks on their way.
Oh, yeah.
So, you're trying to look out for tax dollars and citizens, and I think that's valid. At some point, though, we just need to,
Yeah, but it's not just the stove. The refrigerator
Right.
does need to be replaced. The dishwasher, that's to meet the requiments of the FD, Food and Drug Administration, or whoever sets the water quality stuff up. But let's see how we do with this grant.
But thank you for, you've been working hard on that.
Well, we're waiting.
It's frustrating, but I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And also too, that's part of my, being part of my report too, the building assessment report. This wasn't on my docket, but we did assess it, and that information will be in that report.
Dwayne.
I don't really have anything. I would like to be on the committee for 31 Lawrence Avenue, though. If I may.
Because, you were involved prior. Nice. That'd be great.
History.
Councilor Lawrence.
Nothing to, all set?
Very good. And for me, it's been, 2 hours in the show, but we've talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of tough questions, tough concerns. Not all in agreement, but I think we all did it in a respectful way, and I appreciate it. So that's nice to see. The rink is out there, utilizing some. Definitely the temperatures coming up. For once, if everybody's listening, it's synthetic ice. So synthetic means it's plastic, which means it can be 70 degrees, it can be 90 degrees, and you can skate on it. So it's all good. So when it's 50 and everything else is mush, go use it, especially right after some rain. It'll be nice and slick. So go take advantage of it, have some fun.
And especially be careful with this rain too. You might go.
So you can also use rollerblades and roller skates on the rink, I do believe.
Yeah, you can.
So you don't really need ice skates.
Yeah, you could. If you have a death wish. But
And they're clean wheels, not street wheels.
Yeah.
Make sure you have something good on, because when it's wet, you will go sledding. I found that out.
Part of the learning process.
Just
New lunchtime
Part of the
hobby.
learning process
No,
for
I
the
slept
kids.
a little bit. I didn't go down.
The other part of that was we're working on getting some skates and working with Adam Lorette and getting some. He's actually providing some skates, and I'm trying to provide a lockable tote down there. And at least when we'll set some hours that people can use on the weekend. Yeah, will some of those pairs walk off? Sure, but you know what? I don't care. So they walk off. it's all good karma. So we're going to work on that, and so we'll continue, maybe put out a little note for that. If you have extra pairs to donate, let's work on that. So we'll have a lockable tote there, and we'll open that up on probably on the weekends, most likely, and vacations, and it'll be open, say the tote will be open from so like 1 to 4 or so, whatever time, 11 to 4.
Are they working on lights too?
We are not working, there's been discussion, but there's nothing, that's gonna have to take a little bit. But let's just, even if we get some skates down there, open it up and use them and put them back when you're done, just like a library, and let's do it. So that's just a thought that we'll have, and so that will be happening as quickly as possible. That's all I have.
Okay, motion to recess.
Second.
We got a motion to recess. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. All right.